Hello everyone, Apollos here, and this is part 1 of my tutorial on how to build my minecart system. For those of you who did not see my first video demonstrating it, the way it works is once you jump into this cart and press this button, it powers this rail which sends you off. However, in addition to doing that, it actually opens a panel on the roof that drops a new cart. Upon returning, it reloads the cart that you took by actually pulling the ground out from under the cart, which goes into a reloading area. The trick to it is how to get this piston to pull this rail without destroying it, and I will show you how to do that in the very first video. Now, I did get a request to show the entire journey by one of my viewers, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and after this I will be going to my test world so that I can better show you how to construct the timing for those pistons. Now, I'm also working on a piston-based junction, and there is a tutorial of sorts on how to build it. However, I am having some reliability problems with it. I have some ideas on how to fix it, but I've not actually implemented any of them yet. So at the end of this trip, you may actually get to witness the glitch. It's very sporadic, and usually it doesn't happen, but while recording this, I've actually had it happen 2 or 3 times in a row. If it happens, I'm not going to cut it out or anything, as well, you learn as much from your mistakes as from your successes, but we'll see what happens. As you can see, it's a rather picturesque journey, and we're almost home. Let's see if it works. Good. So you come in, jump off, and the cart goes back into the system. Before I go to my test world, I'm going to check to make sure that everything worked properly, and at the same time show you guys how it works. When these pistons pull the floor out from under the cart, it falls onto this track that has a block behind it, sending it immediately to this reloading area. As you can see, that's an unpowered track. When you press the button that sends your cart forward, it actually powers all of these tracks, causing them to move up one to the next one in sequence, and then this one goes up to the very top and around to the ceiling, where it is then dropped onto the departure area. Now I'm going to cut it here and go to my test world and show you how to time those pistons. I'll see you in a bit. And I'm back. Alright, I'm going to show you the timing for the pistons in the return spot. You're going to want to have some pistons set up like so. And there are actually 2 ways of doing this. Now, the return area is going to be on top of this block. Let me just put a torch there as a placeholder, just so it's easier to see. That's where your cart's going to arrive, and you're going to want a piston right here at depending on which method you use. There's basically a simple way of doing it and a hard way. You're going to need to invert the signal, and the earlier you do this, the easier it's going to be on you. And you're going to want a full delay of 8 repeaters at full tick. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good. And if you want to do it the hard way, you're going to need to put a space between the 7th and 8th repeater and some redstone. Now this signal you send straight to there, and then for these two you're actually going to want another repeater at full ticks. Alright, and I believe I should be able to power both of them if I do that. My suggestion is every time you do a wiring like that, you go back to your pressure plate and you make sure that it works. As you can see, it's timed so that first that one pulls down and then those pull it away. But see that? It destroys the track in the process. That's what this piston is for. And this is where it gets complicated. If you want to do it the easy way, you're pretty much done. All you need to do is ensure that you have a block here, so that when the cart arrives, it hits this block and it pulls the floor out from under it and sends it off to the reloading system. If you're like me and you don't like the idea of having an empty block here while on the other side on the departure area you have a track there, then you'll need to make use of this piston to pull the track away before the floor gives way. And that is why you have this gap. For the timing, you're going to need to split the signal off, and then you're going to have to build a memory cell. Now, I'm going to build this in an elevated position so I can get the signal and everything over to that piston without interrupting that wiring. And based on where you build this track system and how much room you have, it could be easier to do it one way or another. It really does vary depending on the situation you find yourself in. But the way you build a memory cell is basically power two blocks on top of each other, and then one off to the left, the right. Let me go ahead and make more room. Now, you're going to want an intact signal to there once you have this thing built. Now, it doesn't really matter what order you put all these things in. I find personally that it's easier to put that torch there first, simply because that's the one that sets that to its default state. If you don't do it first, it will be in its off position and it can get a bit confusing. Alright, that is a memory cell in a nutshell. Basically, when it receives a signal, it will toggle this from on to off, and it will stay in that position unless it's reset, like so. And that torch is what's going to send the signal over to this piston, like right there. Now, the other thing is the reset. The reset is what's going to ensure that the piston changes from one state to the other, and that would be this block right in the back. Now the reset, it needs a delay of four repeaters. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's also at max. I'm sorry, not 4, 5. There we go. There we go. Now all you have to do is send that signal to the back of your memory cell, like that. Now let me test out the wiring. Sometimes when you first build the system, you're going to have to step on it to make sure that it changes its state properly. And this is actually one of the problems that I have that you can encounter if you use this too early. You'll find that the state of this is actually by default closed, which we do not want. So if you want to do it the easy way, then you can do it as soon as possible. If you want to include that other piston though, then you may want to instead put your inverter over here so that only these are inverted. The reason for that is that since it receives signal from this torch and it's already on, that signal is already inverted by default. Now when you step on this plate, what you should see is that that one pulls away, then these pull away, then these replace it, and then it puts it back. So let me go ahead and put the track back. Then I'll trigger it and I'll show it to you. You see it pulls it away, puts the blocks back, and then it puts that track back. And that is the return area. All you need to do after that is put a powered track right at the bottom of the hole, so as soon as the cart falls down there, it gets sent to your reloading area. And just for illustration purposes, I will show you my little mock-up of the minecart system. This is the reloading system. The carts actually fall in onto these various slots. And when you press this button, which sends this cart out, it actually also powers this one, moving each cart up one and sending that one up to reload. I hope that this video was informative, and I will be making others to show you how to build everything else, but this is by far the more complicated system, so I thought I would do it first. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a nice day. Bye.